You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby. Joining me today, as he does every Tuesday, Charlie 5, Auburn message board legend. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Other than like this side of my face is just scorching right now. Other than that, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
It's hot. It's hot out here. There's no getting around that, but that's okay. That's okay. We're coming a little bit earlier in the evening, and we're paying for it now. But that's okay.
For sure. For sure.
We're
Tan's going to look good, though.
Yes. Or at least on one half of your face. Today's show obviously brought to you by Baumhauer's, as we are broadcasting here live on the patio as we do every Monday evening for the Tuesday show. And I don't think anyone knows more about Baumhauer's than you do, Charlie 5.
There's not a person on earth, I don't believe. I pretty much know everything there is to know about Baumhauer's.
Yes. And you know that Monday and Tuesday is the best 2 days to order food here at Baumhauer's for different reasons.
Yep. Number one, because I'm here both nights. So that's number one.
Yes.
Well, I guess there's three reasons. So Monday nights, you have BOGO to go coal fire pizza. Coal fire pizza. That's legit pizza. Buy it, order it, pick it up. You pay for one, you get two. That's how BOGO works.
That's how BOGO works.
That is how it works. Number two, Tuesday nights, kids night. Kids eat free. We're here every night with my kids. They got face painting, balloon animals. Kids eat free with the purchase of an adult entree. Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
Yeah. So thank you so much to Baumhauer's. It's been fun over the offseason, and hopefully we'll continue to do this for weeks to come into the season. We'll announce that hopefully at a later date. All right. So this was one of the last things I talked about on the show yesterday when Lindsey Crosby joined the show. I think you heard about it. We talked about it briefly on the phone earlier, Charlie 5.
Yes.
But, there's more and more conversation about the legitimacy behind the conversation's always been there, but now there's more legitimacy behind the whole, okay, Bo Nix, could he actually lose a job here? And we've heard things from both scrimmages so far throughout fall camp that he has not looked good, and that Finley has definitely had its moments. He is definitely shined. It sounds like he's got all the arm talent in the world as far as strength and velocity. What do you think about this? Lindsey said no yesterday. I'm kind of on the fence and saying it is more legitimate now than it ever has been. I still don't know how realistic it is. Where are you in this?
So when it comes to just miscommunications, taking sacks, things like that, I just kind of always chalk that up to learning a new offense and this, that, and the other. But there's more and more coming out about just the sheer just lack of accuracy in general, where it's not necessarily making bad decisions. It's I literally just can't hit targets. And that is a concern. That is a concern because I felt like that would be something that could be cleaned up relatively easily. And we're still kind of seeing, there's reports when he's on the run, he's throwing it at the receiver's feet. Now, granted, not many quarterbacks' accuracy improves as they go on the run, but he's definitely got something going on accuracy-wise that could lead to this thing going a little bit further as far as the battle, I guess, so to speak.
Do you agree with what I said yesterday in regards to, okay, there's this narrative now coming out of the second fall scrimmage about how Bo Nix has struggled throwing on the run. And I'm like, okay, but we've seen Bo Nix throw on the run before. And he's like,
right.
I mean, we've seen this dude be off balanced and just throw it 40 yards on a rope. And it's like, okay. And that's part of the frustrating thing about all this, right? Is why can't you do it more consistently? Because it's clear you've got the arm and the ability and the strength and the poise at times and the wherewithal to be a legitimate college quarterback. A top-tier college quarterback is just the consistency and putting it all together. And that's what we've talked about throughout the offseason. And it sounds like I'm okay saying he just had a bad day on Friday. Sure. And a lot of, two of his starting offensive linemen were out. The receivers, it sounds like they were dropping passes and kind of were taking a step backwards from where they were the previous scrimmage and throughout fall camp. But I don't know. Is that lazy? Is that us being kind of, too much of a glass half full stance on it? Because people have said that, and people also have agreed with me.
Yeah,
I don't know. It could be either way.
I battle with this. I sometimes I kind of feel like I'm a Bo Homer. I wish I had more context as far as knowing exactly what's going on.
Right.
There was talk Friday, the scrimmage. I think he threw a pick six in the end zone. Okay. Well, I got clarification from someone that they're running like this 5 wide goal line package type thing.
Oh.
So like why
are we doing that?
Exactly. It's like it's something that we're practicing, I guess, situationally. And, those type things, that's where he was required to throw. He's required to throw a pass with only 5 blockers. Offensive line has struggled. So you got to take a little bit of context. We need a little bit more context about what's going on. But when it comes to just sheer, when it's just like he's coming set and he's not able to get it to the open guy, or there's overthrows or underthrows, that's where I get a little bit more concerned. It's not so much all the other stuff, because there's 1,000 reasons. Rob Pate was on with Justin Hokanson on Auburn Live, and he said that, one thing he said is early in one of the scrimmages, TJ Finley, they called a play for TJ Finley, and it's like a skinny post or double move, post move, and he just sticks the receiver in stride. Looks great. Well, Bo comes in, and then they run the exact same play. And obviously the guy's under a lot more, he's under a lot more, the receiver's under a lot more duress. So like, that's the kind of, right. That's the kind of context that I would love to know more about. But when you're just talking about just accuracy and just hitting the targets, dropping back and being able to, put the ball in the numbers, and that's the kind of the stuff we're starting to hear more and more struggles about. That's where I get a little bit more concerned.
Sure. As we broadcast here from the patio at Baumhauer's, my family is with me. My wife and my child are both with me. And I've never been more jealous of my 1.5-year-old. She just poured water all over herself. And I would love
That's
that.
awesome. That's awesome.
That right now, because it is toasty.
It's toasty.
Today's show brought to you by our friends at Frisky Whiskey, about 15-20 minutes down the road on I-85. As soon as you get into the state of Georgia, take that exit on the right. You'll see billboards all over the place. Turn to the right, then it's on your right. And 100,000 square feet of selection and all the different types of spirits and beer, alcohol, wine, whatever it may be, lottery tickets, if you're into that sort of thing. It's all there. It's all there. You've been to Frisky Whiskey. You're aware of their great customer service and their great selection. And most importantly, their great prices. And you can't find a better deal anywhere around here. A lot of that has to do with, one, they've been in the business for forever, have all these great relationships, but also Georgia's taxes on alcohol. They kind of get the hand up and all that compared to what Alabama does. So
sure.
Awesome selection. Type in Frisky Whiskey in your phone's GPS, and it'll take you right there. Well worth it, especially when you are prepping for your tailgate this upcoming season. Today's show also brought to you. Tell me if this sounds like something that you need right now, Charlie 5. Sweat Block.
Oh,
it is doctor recommended, and it's a wipe, and you apply it. I guess after you shower before you go to bed, and it slows your sweating down for like
a week. Where do you apply it?
Under your armpits. Armpits, right there in the armpit. Okay. And so if you're worried about messing up your shirts, or if it's a confidence thing, they've got you taken care of. Go to sweatblock.com and you can use promo code Locked On for 20% off, or you can go to Amazon or CVS, but you only can get that 20% off when you use the promo code Locked On at sweatblock.com. Charlie 5, I'm Zach Blackerby. We're broadcasting live from the patio here at Baumhauer's. Let's talk a little bit about some of the guys that maybe aren't getting as much love as they probably should. And we're going to probably list a lot of corners here because there's so many, and there's been so much talk about the nickel position and the safeties and the defensive line. But you mentioned Ro Torrance getting an interception. How about him? I mean, he's really hit the ground running. And it sounds like he's battling for starting time. I mean, if he's picking off Bo Nix and we're doing the whole strong versus strong or good versus good, ones versus ones thing, they see him as a starter, right? As I read between the lines, that's what I'm getting.
For sure, man. This rotation of DBs is going to be, without a doubt, the most intriguing thing, I think, of the whole fall camp and like how it ends up. Because like you said, every other practice, every other scrimmage, we hear a new name of some DB that steps up and makes a play. Roe Torrance being like the most recent. I just can't wait, man. It's going to be – I can't wait to see how all the playing time shakes out. Like, there's a lot of mouths to feed. How does it go? Is it going to be like a series rotation? Is it going to, and then you just go who's hot?
And I don't like that, because some defensive backfield, especially when you're playing zone, when you're playing man, but we're told that Derek Mason's going to run more zone than we have in the past. You need to kind of be able to feel each other out and kind of get that chemistry going, kind of like an offensive line. Like, you don't rotate in your 6th and 7th offensive linemen. You want your 5 starters every snap of the game, because it's so much of a unit. And I think if Auburn's defensive backfield is going to play that much zone, it's like a unit. And so I don't want there to be a ton of rotation after. I mean, obviously you're going to have fatigue and you're going to have guys that rotate in and things like that. But as a general rule, like, do you want 5 corners playing, rotating in into your outside guys? Like, I don't personally.
Maybe you could platoon it, by like half of the field. So like you got one half of a I can't even say the word. Platoon. I went for that word and then I can't even pronounce it. Platoon it. It's not that hard. Maybe platoon it, where it's like you have a couple of packages where guys go together. Like certain guys are paired together because of the way they play off each other. Maybe. And then you kind of mix and match and plug it in that way, versus just like, all right, it's your series, so-and-so outside corner or boundary corner. It's more thought behind it as far as like who you pair together on the same side of the field. So you do have that chemistry that you're talking about.
My biggest issue with that is I don't want Roger McCreary off the field in any situation whatsoever. Ever.
No. And I'll tell you somebody else that I've heard more and more about, and I don't feel like he may be getting some pub, but maybe not as much as he needs to be. I've heard Donovan Kaufman looks like an NFL player on the field right now. He's an absolute unit, and I don't think you see as many of the write-ups and things like that about him. But I've had some folks that have gone to scrimmages, and that's all they talk about. Shout out Mike CB22. Said Donovan Kaufman is an absolute NFL-looking player right now. And we haven't heard anything kind of like that so far. So that's somebody I'm very excited about as well.
Middle of the field guy. You got to love that. And yeah, I'm sure the whole Donovan Kaufman, Derek Mason relationship, I mean, from an excitement standpoint and a click standpoint, as far as like how the media wants to handle it, that's probably run course to some extent, right? I mean,
for sure.
They already got the audio and the quote of Derek Mason talking about Donovan Kaufman. So it's like, I could get that. And it seems like he's been a really good situation to win the nickel position. So that may be something that's kind of done in a lot of people's mind.
Yeah.
A lot of the conversation has moved to who's the safety next to Smoke. And some people saying it's by Darius Knighton. And then you look at it, it's like, well, Zion Puckett started at the first scrimmage. I don't know who started there in the second scrimmage. Do you?
I don't.
Yeah, that wasn't really reported in any places that I looked. So, but yeah, Donovan Kaufman's a good one. Absolutely. What about TD Moultrie? He predicted him as a starter on the Ferg Friday show last week here on Locked On Auburn. We go through all 22, technically 23 starters. Be sure to check that out if you missed it. But yeah, the edge guys, he predicted us for the outside linebackers, Derek Hall, obviously. Oh my gosh. And then sorry, my wife just like knocked the table over.
A little wobbly.
I'm getting the look now. But then the other guy was TD Moultrie. And that surprised me because I was like, Eku Leota maybe? And he was like, no, I think it's TD Moultrie. And that's a name that they haven't talked about TD at all.
Two things here. So I feel like the edge position in general is completely flying under the radar. And like all you hear about is like Bo got sacked this many times or Bo got sacked that many times. And like these guys are getting in the backfield. These guys are making plays. And that's number one. I just feel like overall the edge position in general is not getting a lot of pub. And I think we're going to be really strong there and very, very talented. The TD thing, my question is, I would love somebody that knows more about football to teach me what the difference is between the edge position and like a buck type rush in, and why it seems like this position clicks for him. Because I agree. I think based off what I've seen, he's probably going to be the other starter. And like, what about it? What about this position clicks versus, the buck that it just seemed like anytime he was in the game, he was a liability. Like, what's changed?
Because it seems like this edge now that we've got, this stud defensive ends that we're talking about, these edge outside linebackers, seems like there's more to do.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be tough, like tougher.
Yeah, I mean, because they're going to be playing off ball and off the line every now and then and dropping in the coverage. And like with the buck position, you hardly ever saw that. And so That's a great question. That's a great question.
Because I've always looked at TD as kind of like a see ball, hit ball kind of guy. And the more responsibility, the more it slows down his thinking process, which kind of takes away what he's great at, is just like literally closing speed, see ball, hit ball. And like now this edge position, which has a lot more responsibilities, covering backside of the backfield, dropping into zone, shadowing tight ends there occasionally, and then rushing the passer. Like that seems like it's like a much more complicated position to learn. And he just seems to be flourishing in it. And I don't get it. I'm excited. I'm happy for him. So I guess that's the biggest thing. I'm just fired up. For him.
You can save time and money whenever you use rockauto.com. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store front or a car dealership? Just go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car, truck, or SUV, and write Locked On Auburn in there. How did you hear about us box so they know that we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. Also, it's that time of year and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are preparing to get back on the gridiron like we're talking about right now. You can get in on the action and you can get a 100% welcome bonus at betonline.ag. Just go to betonline.ag, and when you make that deposit, use promo code LOCKEDON. Free money at BetOnline.
100%.
100%. Wow. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Charlie 5, tell folks again how special Baumhauer's is right now.
It's a special place. It's a special place in my heart. It's where I spend 2 out of the 7 days of the week, every week. And we love it. We love it. We got Monday night BOGO to go pizza out of a coal fire oven. Can't beat it. Order it, bring it home, only pay for one of them. Tuesday night, you got kids night.
Right.
The face paint and balloon animal lady is just outrageous. Like she can do anything.
She has the it factor.
She has the it factor. Yes, she does. Kids look forward to her. She'll remember kids' names. It's amazing. And not on top of that, you get great food and great service, and the kids get to eat for free, which is great because my kids get so distracted they don't even eat the food. But then I don't get mad because it's free. So
you didn't pay for it, right?
Bingo. We take it home, have it later.
No, awesome place. Our friends at Baumhauer's, and let them know that you heard about us here on the podcast. That'd be great. That would be great.
Sure.
You want to talk a little Cruton?
Sure, man. So we've been hot. Hotter than it even is outside right now. So we're hot on the trail, and we could be getting hotter here pretty soon. I think that things are really looking good for Darius Clemens, who is a top 100 player, wide receiver. Like we're about to just load this wide receiver room up. Cornelius Williams is turning out to be an absolute baller, that ace recruiter that we thought he could be. I think he comes in for the Akron game. I think the last thing he wants to see, this is basically what Jay Lee said on your show, that last thing he wants to see is game day. Let me see it. Let me experience the crowd.
Akron. Like you couldn't wait a few weeks for Georgia.
But on the same token, I want him in the class. I want him committed. Yeah. And in the group chats, and I want him to be starting to get fired up and reaching out to more players. So get him on board as quick as you can. I do get it, but I think the crowd is going to be absolutely insane if nothing happens between now and then. Auburn's going to be fired up and ready to go. The crowd's going to be ready to go, and that's going to be very impressive. So you got him, and then Drew Bobo could go at any time. I think those two are going to be your next two to go. And
I thought his name was just Mike Bobo's son.
yeah, Drew Bobo is his own man. He's his own man. Hey, there's some highlight films out of him from his game last Friday, and he's an absolute mauler.
He's mauling people.
Yeah, him and Easton Harris Jr. Hey, by the way, Easton Harris, I think Florida State is either about to or pick up another offensive line commit, and that could open the door a little bit more for Easton Harris. He's another guy that could go too. But those two guys are on the same offensive line, and they just absolutely kill people. But bless, was it Park Crossing? They just absolutely destroyed them. That little Davis Harson threw a touchdown in that game. Looking good, stepping up in the pocket and throwing a dime. So,
to be fair, a lot of people scored in that game for Auburn High School.
That's true. But it was a good throw against anybody. It was a good throw against – it doesn't matter the competition. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so I think we got Clemens will be next. If like Bobo doesn't happen to pop between now and then, which will be sometime after the Akron game, and then look at Bobo probably next, and then we'll just have to see where it goes from there. But getting Darius Clemens in the class early, completing that wide receiver class just kind of helps you get your offensive skill guys ready to go after the big uglies and rack those guys up.
So you host the Dad Bod Golf Pod, which is now daily. I love that y'all have done that. I think it's fantastic.
Daily.
You guys have a little Auburn flavor coming up, right?
Yeah. So stay tuned this week. We'll have former Auburn golfer Yovan Rabula, and he's Ernie L's nephew. He's All-American here.
Rabula? It's not Rebula?
It's actually not a U sound. It's a U sound. It's Rebula. Yovan, I got him to pronounce it for me. I was like, I want to make sure I at least pronounce your name right.
It's been wrong for years then.
I have too. I've been calling him Jovan. He's like, I was like, there's probably, how does it feel? You got a bunch of rednecks calling you Jovan all the time. But no, he came on and told us about, talked about his Auburn career and what his plans are for the future and how he's kind of battled through injuries this year. And, really cool, really insightful. He has a cool story about how he wound up at Auburn. Started through a Twitter DM. How about that? Yeah. So somebody from Auburn slid in the DMs, and it was on. So cool story, cool kid. I've kind of become friends with him over his time at Auburn because we kind of play at the same facility. So it's a good interview. I think it's probably going to drop Friday. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, make sure to go subscribe. Dad Bod Golf Pod, wherever you get your podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, shout out. My wife and my daughter just made their debut walking behind you on the feed there. So
yes. Hey guys.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Where can people find all of your other stuff?
Sure, man. Follow me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5. You can find Charlie5 on auburnlive.com in the messenger board in the corner. 247 Sports Body, get aboard. You can find us on every day, the only daily golf podcast out there, the Dad Bod Golf Pod.
Awesome. Of course, we're daily. You can tune in tomorrow to War Rapport Wednesday. Mike and T-Dub have been joining us. Those get awesome responses. So if you, for some reason, have not been tuning in on Wednesdays, be sure to check that out. Follow me on Twitter at @blackerby, the show on Twitter at Locked On Auburn, and on Instagram at Auburn Podcast. We'll be back tomorrow right here on Locked On Auburn.